first gig we did was the Marquee in London.
Oh, right.
That was my first gig, and that's, you know, for anyone who knows that place, it was like a 800-seater little club.
Seater, standing like that, mate. Standing like that, yeah.
And the weird thing was, within 9 months, we were out, started off at the Marquee, ended up at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, which is like 55,000 people. So it went a bit weird, and we was opening up. We were still an opening act in America when I joined. And no, it just took off.
How were you dealing with that whole kind of, every time you're at a hotel having millions of screaming people outside, and that kind of fame thing, not being at that point, not being able to really have your own freedom?
In a strange way for me, because I was never really comfortable with that. You know, I find it strange when people react real, you know, like fanatics. It's almost a little bit frightening sometimes. But I even now I can't really deal with it. You know, people are, you know, going over the top with compliments, or, you know, saying stuff about, you know, Def Leppard or what I've done, this, that, and the other. I kind of downplay it. You know, it's like, well, this is what I do.
But actually, even before this peak, there's obviously the tragic accident with Rick. How did that affect you as a band? Because, you know, you are a gang. He joined you when he was 15, and then all of a sudden you're left with a drummer that's like, looks like he might even die. I mean, what happened during those days?
Well, we were actually on a Christmas break, weren't we?
Yeah. I mean, the accident was, it was New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, yeah. And it was just a weird time. It was an unreal period, because you don't want to believe something like that's happened, and yet you wake up every morning and realise that, yeah, this is for real, you know. Originally, the main concern was just hoping that Rick lived. It had nothing to do with, you know, being in a band. That was so secondary, you know. And then when after a week or so, it became apparent that his life was no longer in danger, then it was a question of how's he going to survive with one arm, you know, let alone how's he going to play drums. And then, you know, eventually all these little questions started to get answered, and they were mainly answered by him himself, you know. But it was just a horrible, horrible situation to see a friend have such a terrible, terrible accident.
It wasn't until a couple of weeks later when I really realized that something was drastically wrong, and I really didn't want to do anything. No. You know? And it wasn't until my brother he brought my stereo system to the hospital where I was staying in Sheffield, and I started playing some of the old songs that I grew up with, which ironically I hadn't listened to for years. You know, I'd kind of lost interest in drums a little bit at that point, and started listening to some of the old songs, and realized that I had this huge piece of foam at the bottom of my bed, and I realized that I could play all the basic sort of rhythms that I originally learned. And a friend of mine that was heavily involved in electronics and whatever, he came around to see me one time, and he said, well, maybe we could do something with that, you know. I've got an idea for some foot pedals. And then Steve and Phil came to see me, and it just kind of grew from there. You know, I got this idea that I could maybe, you know, play a modified kit, and then they gave me all this really good encouragement. And I think the first thing they said to my mother when they left, you know, my hospital room was, "He's so normal," you know. Like, and I think at the time I was kind of putting on a bit of a brave face. Yeah. But I was, you know, I was enthusiastic about it. I realized there was something I could do.
He was supposed to be in hospital for 6 months, and he was never going to play the drums again, and he was out in 6 weeks. He was back in the studio within 2 months or so. He did his recuperating with us, and he just locked himself away with this kit that he'd thought up 2 days after he'd come round. I can use my feet. Everybody thought he was delusional, but, you know.
A lot of people will say, oh, I don't know what I would have done in that situation, but, you know, human spirit is so strong when you put it to the test. I think it goes either way. It can go downhill really quickly, or, you know, you just think, well, You know, I either go on or that's it. So I decided that was the way to go.
We've been given a lot of credit for standing by him and not looking for another drummer, you know, which is quite true. That's exactly how it was. But most of the credit should go to Rick, because he was the one that said, I can do this and I will do it. And at the end of the day, if it came to a point where he could not function as a drummer, he would be the one that would say so. And that would be it, you know. We'd have to reluctantly find somebody else. But it never arose, because it was Rick that was writing all the scripts. He was the one that was saying how it was going to be.
How about your first gig?
That was incredible. Yeah, I mean, just felt this overwhelming support from, you know, everybody, all the faces out there, and especially faces in the wings, you know, family and, you know, and people that I loved.
You must have felt on top of the world at the end of that gig.
Yeah, I did. The only thing that was a real pisser was I started crying. I'm thinking, you know, this is the first time I've got these electronics wet. I'm probably going to get zapped or something, you know what I mean?
The bitterest that
Yeah, really.
And then he
One-armed drummer loses life.
He sits behind us and he hits the drums, and as far as we're concerned, he's, you know...
Yeah, we don't look at him, see, he's there.
Yeah.
We just
We
hear
hear him.
Sounds like a drummer.
And to me, he sounds like the best drummer in the world.